Topping today's news, the Prime Minister speaks on democracy during an international summit. The government seeking monetary damages from Shanty town residents. The government may consider loosening gun restrictions for ordinary citizens. And the Bahamas Union of Teachers President Wilson responds to criticism over the question of transgender education. This is your Jcn Evening News. It's a pleasure to have you join us. While he has the privilege of governing a free, sovereign, and democratic nation, there are still challenges with disinformation in a democratic society. Prime Minister Philip Davis on Wednesday, addressing the plenary session of the 2023 Summit for Democracy, told the virtual audience that disinformation creates cynicism, amplifies division, and degrades trust. As for the Bahamas, the Prime Minister spoke to the strength of the traditions and institutions of a democratic Bahamas, as well as a vibrant and democratic life, but also acknowledges that no nation can afford to be complacent, as even the long-standing democracies can become vulnerable.
As times change, as new challenges arise, we are obligated to continually renew our commitment to the essential liberties and dignity of each of our citizens. Unfortunately, even long-standing democracies can be vulnerable to the erosion of key democratic values and institutions. Around the world, we have seen independent electoral authorities weakened, high courts undermined, checks and balances diminished, and critics persecuted. Yet, we've also seen citizens build coalitions and rise up to protest such moves, in some cases to great effect, showing their profound understanding that while democracies are inevitably imperfect, no better system has yet been invented for upholding freedoms.
Prime Minister Davis says it is up to all nations to ensure its democratic institutions keep pace with a broad and complex array of policy challenges, explaining that it is easier now for bad actors to manipulate and distort the truth, undercutting the ability of citizens to make informed decisions.
We cannot ignore the insidious, corrosive effects of disinformation. At a time when all of us need to engage our citizens in debate about a dangerous new climate change era, about the promises and perils of artificial intelligence, and about how best to deliver sustainable and inclusive economic growth, we find that first we must fight our way past deliberate distortions. There are no shortcuts to fighting manipulation and propaganda. Efforts will require innovation, ingenuity, collaboration, and resources.
The virtual Summit for Democracy, co-hosted by the U.S. Department of State, Costa Rica, the Netherlands, Republic of Korea, and Republic of Zambia, focused on renewing democracy and confronting autocracies internationally. The government will be seeking monetary compensation from Shantytown residents who built new structures under a conjunction, the court conjunction, which prohibited them from doing so. This coming from Press Secretary at the Office of the Prime Minister, Clint Watson, during the weekly press briefing. He says those residents will have to appear before the courts.
What the government has before there is, of course, a declaration that they should not have constructed buildings there or any additional buildings there after there was an injunction in place. And so we're seeking for damages. We're seeking for there to be monetary compensation for people who went and built and constructed. That is what's going to happen. The court will run its course in making that determination. And once that determination is made, then we could proceed to the next level. So that has to be that court matter. There has to be a court hearing in order for those residents who would have violated, in the terms of government, violated that policy and that injunction that was in place by constructing new homes, they'll have to appear before the court so the court can make a determination, and then we move to the next level.
Mr. Watson goes on to explain that when Shantytown residents go to court, the government will be seeking permission to demolish and require fines as violation of the injunction. Last week, the Unregulated Communities Action Task Force posted 260 eviction notices in Shantytown communities on Abaco. However, there has been a motion to appeal those eviction notices. Government may be considering allowing more residents to own a firearm for their own protection, especially with the increase in crime in today's Bahamas. This much is coming from Minister of National Security, Wayne Munro, who himself owns a firearm.
We are now looking at the issuance of weapons to anybody. I will give you a stark example of what we are moving to change. We have about, I think, 20 or 30,000 licenses for shotguns and rifles. Give you a personal example. I have a shotgun, I have a rifle. I obtained those about 10 odd years ago. I wasn't made to prove to the licensing authority that I could safely use either of them. Periodically, annually, or every 2 years, I'm not required to prove that I can still safely use them. We intend to change that.
The National Security Minister says in order to possess a firearm, individuals would have to prove that they are capable and equipped to properly operate such a lethal weapon.
Handgun, a shotgun, and a rifle is a lethal weapon. And so we're going to be concerned that the persons who we give permission to own them, to possess them, one, have sufficient knowledge to safely use them when they get them, and to continue to safely use them going forward. Owning any description of a firearm is a real responsibility. And having the wrong attitude in owning it would be problematic. And so, of course, care is taken when licenses are issued for any class of firearm.
Meanwhile, many Bahamians are against the introduction of concealed weapons for ordinary citizens, as they believe it would only result in more bloodshed and violence. Police are on the hunt for two armed men who gunned down another male who is now in hospital in serious condition. Police say sometime around 6:25 p.m. on Wednesday, the victim was fixing his vehicle at the front of his home in the area of Seabreeze Lane. It was during this time that two males, the occupants of a dark-colored Nissan Cube, exited and opened fire, resulting in the victim being shot multiple times about the body. The suspects then fled the area in an unknown direction. The victim was taken to the Princess Margaret Hospital in a private vehicle, where he is again listed in serious condition. Police are appealing to members of the public who may have information regarding this incident or any other criminal matter to contact the Crime Investigations Department or the Criminal Investigations Department or Crime Stoppers at 328-TIPS. That's 328-8477. The Bahamas Customs Department is continuing their modernization efforts with the launch of a Bahamian-made exempt mobile baggage declaration app. Customs Officer Nadia Newton says the Declarations app will put an end to the manual paper declaration forms, and all declarations will now be stored via the user's account.
This app requires a one-time registration using an email and a private password provided by the user. Once you are logged into the app, you would proceed to the Account tab, click Update, scan your passport, and the app will pick up the embedded information from the passport, such as your NIB information and your date of birth details. As soon as this is done, your account is officially active. To complete a declaration in exempt, you have to select the form, C-17, fill out all your aircraft information, select your items from a drop-down list and their values, upload your invoices, decide if you wish to use an exemption or not to use an exemption, and then you have the option to pay online through the app, or you can submit, and once you get to your destination, access the cashier in the hall.
The app will be mandatory to all Bahamians and residents as of June 12, 2023. Officer Newton says the main goal of the app is to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of customs operations.
First and foremost, It's paperless. Forms are filled out and submitted through the app. Receipts and all the other documentation needed by customs, as your permits, are scanned before submission of your declaration. All of your past forms are saved in the comfort of your account. So that means if you change your mobile number, you change your phone, it's still there. If you choose to pay through the cashier in-house, they also have the ability to email your receipts to the account holder. 2, submission of your declarations before arrival. You can now submit your declarations while you are still abroad.
Officer Newton encourages all travelers who may have items to clear to do so before arriving in country. For those who are not so tech savvy, the Customs Department has plans to install kiosks at the airport for those who may need assistance. Officer Newton shared more features about the new app.
Travelers can now search their duty rates on the app. You can do this by using our duty search option. If not found, we also have a help desk option where you can actually request the rate and it will be added to the app in real time. 6, shopping list feature. With this feature, you can actually scan your items while you're in store. When you scan the items are added to a virtual shopping list on the app. When you're finished shopping, you can sit, sort through your items, and just with a click, add the items you wish to add to your declaration. Because you may bring some stuff with you and you may ship some stuff. Okay? 7, language change. By selecting the settings option, click on the app language, and there's an option to change the language of the app from English to one of the following: Creole, Spanish, French, German, Italian, and Portuguese.
The exempt mobile baggage declaration app is now available in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store as well. While in Boston, Massachusetts on Monday, Bahamas Ambassador to the United States, Wendell Jones, met with a number of personalities from the financial sector. He used the opportunity to discuss the focus of the Bahamas or the Bahamian government on climate change and the legislation to sell carbon credits in the Bahamas. Pictured is Ambassador Jones with David Groslow and Chris Gordon, partners in Bain Capital, one of the largest financial houses in Boston. Bain Capital is one of the world's leading private investment firms with approximately $160 billion worth of assets under their management. It specializes in private equity, venture capital, credit, public equity, impact investing, life sciences, and real estate. Bain Capital invests across a range of industry sectors and geographic regions as well. And finally, in this segment, after receiving backlash from many Bahamians over her comments during a question and answer session as guest of the Rotary Club West Nassau meeting earlier this month, Bahamas Union of Teachers President Belinda Wilson, speaking with local radio host Shivago Lang, wanted to provide added clarity towards her response to a question a Rotarian asked her. She says the question was, do you think the government should look at transgender issues in school?
I think that the government should get ahead of it so that we can educate our children not only about transgender issues, but even have components related to that type of lifestyle. And then I went on to say how our children will be going off to colleges and universities, and they will be going to countries and states where this type of lifestyle is a part of their living, and they have policies and laws and procedures surrounding that. And so, first of all, I believe that there's a lot of persons who did not even listen to what the comments were. They just saw a heading, transgender education.
The BUT president goes on to explain that there seems to have been a mix-up with her original response to a question another Rotarian asked, where she explained that students being taught information about the world is not necessarily encouraging such lifestyles.
So they should not be stunned and shocked if they are the individuals who purchased the text that the school is saying is being used for a specific subject or discipline. So you have purchased a text that you did not take the time to look at. And if your child is coming home with homework, as I heard one of the callers say, then are you reviewing the homework? Are you interacting with your child as to what it is that they are being taught or they're learning on a day-to-day basis?
Many parents, grandparents, and ordinary citizens took to social media to strongly voice their displeasure with even the thought of the idea of transgender same-sex material being introduced to local school curricula. And we'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.